I never thought I'd kill for a second chance at life. But when my own mother looked me in the eye and signed the papers to evict me and my 5-year-old daughter from the family estate, I realized mercy was just another word for weakness. That night, as rain hammered the windows of our crumbling guest house on the edge of the Hamptons property, I swallowed the last vial of that black market serum, the one whispered about in the underbelly of Manhattan's elite clinics, and felt my skin ignite like I'd mainlined lightning. By dawn, I wasn't Arya anymore. I was her, Evelyn Hargrove, the iron-fisted matriarch who'd built an empire on lies, and the real revenge was just waking up. The serum hit like a freight train through the veins, a cocktail of experimental neurotoxins and gene splicers smuggled from some rogue biotech lab in Silicon Valley. I'd found it through a contact in the city, a washed-up surgeon who'd lost his license after botching a celeb's facelift. Body swap, he'd called it in that dingy back-alley office off Wall Street, his breath reeking of cheap scotch. Not magic, sweetheart. Science. Rewires the synapses, mirrors the DNA signature. You'll wake up in her skin, but it'll only last 72 hours before your original body flatlines. Use it or lose it. I'd paid him in cash from the last of my severance. 15 grand that my parents had probably already written off as a bad investment in their disappointing daughter. Disappointing. That's what Evelyn had called me the day she and my father, Richard, sat us down in the library of the family estate. The room smelled like old leather and regret, the kind that clings to antique books no one reads anymore. Lily, my daughter, was coloring on the Persian rug, oblivious, her tiny fingers smudged with crayon wax. Arya, we've given you every chance, Evelyn had said, her voice like polished steel, not a hair out of place in her silver chignon. She was 68 but looked 50, thanks to the parade of trainers and injectables that kept her ageless in the boardrooms of Hargrove Pharmaceuticals. This isn't sustainable. The guest house, the allowances, it's draining resources we need for the company. Resources? As if I hadn't slaved for that company myself, rising through the ranks as their golden child and junior exec until I got pregnant out of wedlock. Until I chose Lily over the corner office. Richard, ever the silent enforcer, just nodded from his armchair, his Rolex glinting under the Tiffany lamp. He was the money man, the one who'd turned a sleepy pill factory into a Fortune 500 behemoth by cutting corners no one talked about. I'd begged. God, I'd begged. This is my home. Lily's home. You can't just. We can. Evelyn cut in, sliding the eviction notice across the mahogany desk. It was typed on crisp letterhead, notarized, with a 30-day clock ticking. And we will. For the family's future. The betrayal burned deeper than the words. It wasn't just the roof over our heads. It was the secret they'd buried 28 years ago, the one that explained why I'd always been the sacrificial lamb. But that night, as Lily whimpered in her sleep beside me, I made the call. The surgeon's serum was my ticket in, but the real plan? It had been brewing since the day I discovered the truth. Flashback 6 months. I'd been digging through the estate's attic, hunting for heirlooms to pawn. Desperate times, right? When I found the locked steel box behind a stack of my grandfather's hunting rifles. The combination was my birth date, because irony is a bitch. Inside, yellowed lab reports, faded photos, and a single cassette tape labeled Project Echo, Trial 1. I'd played it on an old boombox, heart pounding like a jackhammer. My father's voice, clinical and detached. Subject A. Female, age 22, vital signs stable. Administering the compound now. Then screams. Not mine, hers. My mother's. Evelyn's. The tape cut to static, but the reports filled in the blanks. In the 90s, Hargrove Pharma had tested an early version of the serum on volunteers, homeless women, undocumented migrants, anyone they could vanish without questions. Evelyn had been the first success, swapping into a younger body during a clinical trial gone wrong. She'd been dying of ovarian cancer, body failing at 40, when they injected her with the prototype. It worked, but at a cost. The original occupant, a lab tech named Maria Ruiz, ended up catatonic in a psych ward, her mind erased. And me? I was the cover-up. Conceived in vitro from Evelyn's donated eggs and Richard's sperm, implanted in Maria's hollowed-out shell post-swap. They told the world Evelyn had a miracle pregnancy at 45. The press ate it up, Hargrove's golden couple defying biology. But Maria? She birthed me, raised me in secret as their nanny until the swap side effects fried her brain for good. They institutionalized her, paid off the staff, and let me believe Evelyn was my flesh and blood. Also, their empire wouldn't crumble under scandal. I'd confronted them once, waving the tape like a loaded gun. You stole her life. You stole mine. Evelyn had laughed, a cold, tinkling sound over her martini. Darling, every empire is built on bones. Yours included. Now put that away before you embarrass us all. Richard just stared, his eyes dead as the deals he'd buried. That's when I knew eviction was just the beginning. They planned to write me out entirely, disinherit, discredit, disappear. Lily was collateral. So the serum. By morning, I woke up gasping in silk sheets that smelled of Chanel No. 5 and entitlement. My hands, Evelyn's hands, were manicured to perfection, veins faint under porcelain skin. I stumbled to the full-length mirror in the master suite, the one overlooking the Atlantic, and there she was, me, but not. Sharp cheekbones, ice-blue eyes, the faint scar from a youth serum touch-up on her jaw. My real body, drugged and hidden in the guest house by my planted accomplice, a disgruntled estate manager named Tom, would hold for 3 days. Enough time to dismantle everything. First move, the board. I called an emergency meeting from Evelyn's office, voice steady as I slipped into her cadence, clipped vowels, that faint Long Island lilt she'd never shaken. Gentlemen, we've got a crisis. Area's instability threatens our Q4 projections. Lies, of course. I leaked doctored emails from my burner account, framing myself, the real me, as embezzling funds, sleeping with VPs, a liability they couldn't afford. By noon, the board was baying for blood, authorizing a full audit and my immediate removal from any family ties. Richard stormed in, face purple. Evelyn, what the hell? We discussed handling this quietly. I smiled her smile, all teeth and no warmth. Quietly got us evicted papers, Richard. Time for decisive action. He bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. That night, over a tense dinner in the formal dining room, crystal clinking like accusations, I watched him squirm as I signed off on freezing my own assets. Lily was with a sitter in the city, safe, but every fork scrape felt like twisting the knife. Day 2 dawned with the feds at the gate. SEC investigators I'd tipped off anonymously about the 90s trials. Hargrove stock plummeted 15% before lunch. Evelyn's, my, phone blew up with panic from investors, but I played the outraged CEO, vowing transparency. We'll root out the rot. I told CNBC from the estate's library, the same spot they'd evicted me from. Richard paced behind the camera, sweating through his Brooks Brothers shirt. This is madness, Eve. You're destroying us. Madness? I whispered later, cornering him in his study with a tumbler of his favorite scotch. Like testing death serum on the desperate? Like letting a dying woman birth your lies? His eyes widened, recognition flickering. No, not yet. But close. I dosed his drink with a mild paralytic from the pharma stockroom, just enough to loosen tongues. As he slumped, words slurring, I leaned in. Maria Ruiz sends her regards. She was my mother, Richard, not your sainted wife. He choked, foam at his lips. You're not. But the drugs won, and he passed out cold. I planted the tape on his desk, anonymous, and let the maid find it come morning. By evening, the house was a war zone. Reporters swarmed the driveway, drones buzzing like vultures. Evelyn's, my, empire was fracturing, board members jumping ship, lawsuits stacking like Jenga blocks. I felt the serums burn now, a low hum in my bones, countdown ticking. But the real hook was Lily. I'd arranged for Tom to bring her to the estate under pretense of a family reconciliation. She ran to me, in this stolen skin, arms wide. Grandma Evie, Mommy said you'd fix everything. I held her tight, Evelyn's frail arms trembling for the first time. Fix it. Oh, I'd shatter it all. The paralytic wore off Richard around midnight, but by then, the tape had gone viral. Some enterprising stringer at the New York Post got wind, probably from the leak I engineered, and splashed it across every feed. Hargrove heirloom. Pharma tycoon's dark secret exposed. Hashtags exploded. Body swap scandal. Maria Ruiz lives matter. Turning the Hamptons into a circus. Protesters gathered at the gates, signs waving. Justice for the forgotten. I watched from the solarium. Evelyn's silk robe draped over me. Lily asleep on the chaise with her stuffed elephant. The serum itched under my skin now, like fire ants marching through capillaries. 48 hours left. Richard burst in, wild-eyed, clutching his phone. Evelyn, tell me this is a hoax. That cassette, it's from the vault. How? I turned slowly, channeling her haughty tilt of the chin. How? Because your sins have a way of resurfacing, darling. Like oil from a spill you thought you'd buried. His face crumpled, denial cracking into horror. He lunged, grabbing my wrist hard enough to bruise this borrowed flesh. You're not her, Arya? God, no. The guest house, it's empty. Tom said you were. Missing. I wrenched free, voice dropping to a hiss. Or just conveniently out of the picture, like Maria? You two orchestrated everything. The swap, the cover-up, the miracle baby, to keep the shareholders smiling. And when I started asking questions, when I wouldn't play the dutiful daughter, you decided Lily and I were loose ends. He staggered back, collapsing into a wicker chair that creaked under his bulk. The man who'd crushed unions and FDA probes looked small, deflated. It was for the family. Evelyn was dying, cancer eating her alive. The serum was experimental, but Maria, she volunteered. Payday for her family in Mexico. We gave you everything, Arya. The best schools, the trust fund. Volunteered. I laughed, bitter as the bile rising in this throat not my own. She was trafficked, Richard, lured with promises of green cards that never came. You gagged her, pumped her full of hormones, let her carry me like a lab rat. And when the swap fried her mind, you dumped her in that state hospital upstate, labeled her schizophrenic. I visited her once, you know, before you had the record sealed. She called me Little Echo, rocking in that chair, whispering about stolen stars. Tears tracked down his cheeks, real ones, for once. We loved you. In our way. Your way got my daughter and me evicted like trash. I stepped closer, the scent of his aftershave, Old Spice, same as always, twisting the knife. You planned to institutionalize me next, didn't you? Frame me as unstable, pump me full of the same drugs that silenced Maria. Lily to foster care, or worse, adopted out to some suitable Hargrove ally. He didn't deny it, just buried his face in his hands, sobs racking his frame. Part of me, the real Arya, buried under this skin, pity flickered. But revenge isn't pity's friend. I slipped a second dose into his scotch, stronger this time. Sleep it off, father. Tomorrow, we end this. Dawn brought chaos. The board convened virtually, faces pixelated and panicked on Evelyn's laptop. I played the role flawlessly, outraged, commanding. We're cooperating fully with authorities. Any executive tied to Project Echo will be terminated immediately. Resignations poured in. Stock hit rock bottom. Richard joined via video from his study, pale as milk, but he backed me. Publicly, at least. Privately, he texted, "We need to talk. Alone." I agreed, sending Lily to the playroom with Tom. The estate's wine cellar was our spot. Cool, dimly lit racks of vintage Bordeaux that cost more than my old apartment. He waited there, bottle in hand, pouring 2 glasses with shaking fingers. Truce, Arya. Whatever this is, serum, swap, it's killing you. We can fix it. Call off the hounds. Bury the tape again. For Lily. I sipped, the tannin sharp on an unfamiliar tongue. Truce? After you signed away our home? After the lawyers you hired started digging into my mental health history? Proof sat heavy in my pocket. Emails from his account, forwarded to me by Tom. Contingency plans, commitment papers, guardianship transfer for Lily. Controversial? Hell yes. A mother drugging her own father to expose his sins? I'd burn in whatever hell for it. But damn if it didn't feel like justice. You're destroying everything we built, he pleaded, voice cracking. The company employs thousands. Pensions, research, it's not just us. Built on what? Stolen lives? I set the glass down hard. Maria's family never saw that payday. Her kids grew up in slums while you yachted in Monaco. And me? I took the fall for your youth trials cover-up. The whistleblower who got silenced, blackballed from every pharma job in the tri-state area. That was the deepest cut. 5 years ago, I'd uncovered falsified data on their anti-aging line, the very serum's descendants. Reported it anonymously. Next week, my office was raided. I was painted as the thief. Fired, disgraced, pregnant, and alone. They'd let me crash on the estate out of pity, but it was control. Always control. Richard lunged again. This time for the bottle, smashing it against the stone wall in a spray of glass and Merlot. You ungrateful bitch. We gave you life. Wrong body, Dad. I dodged, heart hammering. The serum surged, a warning pulse, rejection starting early. Skin prickled, vision blurring at edges. Tom was short. I grabbed a shard, not to kill, but to threaten. Call the board. Resign. Transfer everything to me, full control. Or the feds get the unredacted files. All of them. He froze, blood from a cut on his palm dripping onto the sawdust floor. Then, slowly he nodded. For Lily, he muttered. Just for her. Upstairs, the real climax brewed. Evelyn's, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. We know what you did. Meet at the boathouse. Come alone. Trap or twist. I left Lily with Tom, slipping out into the fog-shrouded lawn. The boathouse loomed like a ghost, salt air thick with marsh rot. Inside, shadows shifted. Not Richard. It was her. The real Evelyn, in my body, disheveled, eyes wild with serum-fueled rage. Hello, daughter, she snarled, my own voice twisted ugly. Or should I say usurper? She'd beaten me to it. The surgeon, double-crossing bastard, had sold her the same batch, tipped her off when I went under. There she stood, in my skin, 5'6", mousy brown hair tangled, yoga pants stained from the guest house floor. But her posture? Pure Evelyn, shoulders back, chin lifted like she owned the damn continent. The serum's glow lit her, my cheeks, a feverish sheen. You think you're the only one with access to the family secrets? I built this web, Arya. Every string leads back to me. I laughed, the sound echoing off the wooden beams slick with Atlantic damp. Web? More like a noose. You swapped into Maria to cheat death, then let her rot while you played perfect mom. Evicted us to tie up loose ends. But here's the controversy. I dosed Dad, leaked your sins, and I'd do it again. For Lily. For every Maria you buried. Her eyes, my eyes, narrowed, calculating. And your little stunt? Framing yourself as the embezzler? Child's play. The board's already circling. They'll install me as interim CEO by morning. Richard's too broken to fight. She stepped closer, the scent of my cheap drugstore shampoo, clashing with her Chanel. But you, in my body, aging backward, aren't you? The rejection's starting. I felt it last time, bones aching, memories bleeding. She was right. Evelyn's hands trembled now, liver spots blooming like accusations under the skin. 24 hours, maybe less. The boathouse door creaked in the wind, waves slapping pilings below like impatient applause. What do you want? I demanded. Absolution. A swap back. Control, she said simply, pulling a syringe from her pocket. Another vial, glowing faintly. Antidote. We reverse this. You walk away with a settlement. Lily gets the trust. But you shut your mouth. Forever. The offer hung, tempting as sin. Controversial decision. Take the deal. Let the empire stand on its rotten foundation? Or burn it down, risk everything, including my daughter's future? Lily's face flashed, giggling over pancakes, trusting Grandma Evie to fix it all. I thought of Maria, whispering little echo in that sterile room, her mind a casualty of ambition. No, some debts demand blood. I lunged, not for the syringe, but her, tackling my own body to the damp planks. We grappled, a grotesque mirror fight. Evelyn's frail frame against my younger strength, but she fought dirty, nails raking, knee to the gut. You were always weak, she gasped, pinning me. That's why we chose you, to be the fall guy. Chose me. The twist hit like a gut punch. Not random. They'd engineered it from the start. Maria's womb selected for compliance. Me bred as the perfect patsy. Deep betrayal, layered like an onion of lies. I bucked, elbow connecting with her, my jaw. The syringe skittered across the floor, rolling toward the edge. Waves roared louder, foghorn moaning in the distance. We scrambled for it, a tangle of limbs. She got there first, triumphant snarl. Mine. But as she plunged it toward her vein, toward my vein, the door burst open. Richard, staggering, gun in hand. His father's Colt, from the attic's safe. Eve. Arya. Stop. Time fractured. Evelyn froze, syringe hovering. Richard, it's me. Your wife. She's the imposter. Liar. I shouted, scrambling up. She evicted us, planned to lock me away. The tape. It's all true. He wavered, barrel swinging between us. Sweat beaded his brow, paralytic still fogging his aim. I called the real feds. Not yours. The ones who know about the swaps. Project Echo's been flagged for decades. Whistleblowers like you. Arya, but silenced. His voice broke. I covered for her. God help me, I did. But Lily, seeing her tonight, in your arms. I can't. Evelyn lunged for him. Desperate, feral. The shot cracked, deafening in the confined space. She crumpled, blood blooming dark on my shirt. No gore, just a neat hole under the collarbone. The controversial mercy of a father's hand. The syringe clattered free. Richard dropped the gun, collapsing beside her. Eve, I'm sorry, she gasped. My eyes, locking on mine. Not rage. Regret? You were. Always. The better one. Then still. I grabbed the antidote, jamming it into Evelyn's, my borrowed, arm. Fire raced through, synapses realigning in a scream of light. The world spun, bodies blurring. When it cleared, I was me again, aching, bruised, but whole. Richard knelt over her, over the shell that had been Evelyn, now vacant, serum spent. Sirens wailed, closing in. He'd called them for real, cleanup, not cover-up. As cuffs clicked on his wrists, he met my gaze. The estate's yours. All of it. For Lily. The twist reversed everything. He wasn't the villain, just the enabler. Evelyn had orchestrated the swaps, the evictions, even planting the doubts that made him pull the trigger. Her final words? A lie to the end, absolving herself. Or was it truth? Debatable even now. Months later, the trial's a media storm. Hargrove Pharma dismantled, assets liquidated for victims' funds. Lily and I live in the main house, but it's hollow. I teach her about Maria, the real grandmother, over bedtime stories. Happy ending? For some. Tragic for the empire that crumbled. But as I watch the Atlantic from the solarium, waves erasing footprints, I wonder, was revenge justice or just another swap? The kind that leaves you hollowed out, echoing someone else's sins? Either way, they never saw it coming. And neither, really, did I?